Assalamu alaikum, shalom, shalom, hotep, Islam, Alafia. What's going on, family? What's going on? What's going on? How y'all doing? Happy Monday, happy Monday. Happy Monday. We are back with another episode. We are back with another episode. How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? Happy Monday, happy Monday. Happy Monday. What's going on? How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? Peace, peace. Assalamu alaikum. What's going on? I'm waiting on my guests to come through. We're going to be talking about relationships. We're going to be talking about love. We're going to be talking about healing. All that good stuff. All that good stuff. Happy Monday, y'all. What's going on? We're going to be talking about the family structure, right? We're going to be talking about love, loving yourself, loving other people, of course. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be talking about a lot of things, okay? Let's see. Peace, peace.
God, my brother.
How you doing?
Peace, peace. How y'all
Whoever
doing?
said F love in the comments, I'm sending love to you
Peace,
right
God.
now.
Peace,
So,
Earth.
you
What's
gotta be
going
easy
on?
out here in these streets saying stuff like that. You send messages to the universe.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, they need love too. They
those
need love too.
those type of people I just ignore. You know,
No doubt.
if you know, I ain't even
No
say
doubt.
anything because it's going to be a back and forth type of thing. I don't go back and forth. Yo, but man, welcome. I'm excited. This is going to be dope. As I was saying earlier, man, we're going to be speaking on love. I'm a big component for love. We're going to be speaking about the family structure. Also, a very big component of the family structure coming together, sticking together as a unit. We're going to be talking about, of course, you guys' relationship coming together and really making it work. You know what I'm saying? So let's get into it. So Candyss, Candyss Love, an emotional alchemist, counselor, school teacher, retreat coordinator, owner of Sasha Flowers Skincare, which did 6 figures in the first 2 months of launching. So congrats on that, sis. And so much more. Also a co-creator of Remembering Me Soul Healing Podcast. You know what I'm saying? So dope. Welcome, sis. My brother DoX, aka Brick City Buddha, meditation teacher, counselor, couples therapist, community activist. I'm big on that. Public speaker, owner of Meditation Education LLC, and also the co-creator of Remembering Me Soul Healing Podcast. Beloveds, brother, sister, welcome. Yes, indeed. Yes, man. So exactly, let's get into it, man.
Why you always?
So how did you guys meet?
we met right on here on Instagram.
Hey, let's get into it.
It was her birthday, September 30th, and I don't even know how she ended up in my algorithm because you know how the new algorithm for social media is if you're not following somebody, if you don't frequent their page, you kind of get funneled out or you don't get seen at all. But she had, I think, watched a live I did previous to me seeing her post on her birthday that year. And of course, beautiful. She had the bikini on. I saw that she was doing van life. She had talked about being celibate and not in a relationship for 4 years. But in the caption is really what grabbed me because I have done intense periods of solitude myself. I did a year of celibacy, including no masturbation, things of that nature to get my energy back in order and balanced out. So the way she put her caption, beyond how beautiful she was physically, the way she wrote it, I knew it wasn't just some fronting for Instagram. I knew it was genuine. I knew it was authentic. And you don't meet a lot of people who have kind of taken that internal sabbatical, especially coming in the package that she came in. So it was alluring to me in a way where I just wanted to support her. It wasn't even about trying to get in the DM and see what was good. I'm like, this is somebody who can really get the message of us doing our internal work to the masses, and I just want to support that. So I start sharing her stuff, sharing her posts and stories, and eventually, like maybe a week and a half later, she snuck in my DM, and she just was saying thank you. She was just expressing gratitude, and mind you, 50,000 or so followers. I know she was lit on van life. I saw her YouTube, hundreds of thousands of views. So for her to be humble enough to take the time to just express gratitude, and I'm sure it's a lot of brothers in her DM, that impressed me, and that kind of sparked us starting to at least just talk. Yeah.
Okay. And so, Candyss, for you, what was your reaction when you seen DoX like sharing your videos and supporting you? I know you was like,
I
oh,
never
I don't know
answered that
this
question, so
brother
that's a
from
great
a hole in
question.
the wall.
Yeah,
Like, why he sharing my videos and stuff?
absolutely. So
Yeah,
what actually happened
right.
was I was traveling in my van, and I was in what park was I in? I was in Utah in some national park. And I ran across his page. He was live on Instagram. And what dawned on me was what he was speaking about. But I started thinking, like, this is a person who deserves a really huge platform based on the things that he was speaking about. So I was really shocked. The things that he had spoken about, I hadn't really heard anyone speaking about those same things: quantum mechanics, quantum physics, the things that I was into, and the topics that he was talking about. So I just, was looking at his page, and I remembered his name, Brick City Buddha, and then, me and my German Shepherd, we went hiking, and that was kind of it. So for my birthday, when he showed up and ended up, sharing me, I was like, oh man, I remember seeing him. And it was kind of just that. It was the gratitude for him sharing my page. And then it was like, this is actually somebody that I would share what they share to the community as well, because he had a lot to speak about. And it kind of started and stopped there. It was just the admiration for what he did. It was the admiration for the time that I know he had to put in as far as healing to even have that type of information. And one thing about a lot of people in the conscious or spiritual community, you can tell off rip when people have regurgitated information, when people just have the gift of gab, and when they just know how to have a great memory to appeal to the masses. And it was very clear that this was a person who actually was authentic and genuine in the things that he expressed.
Good answer.
Right. So, word. So, how long after was
From
it
that
you
point,
guys started
we
like
had our
talking
initial
and really getting to know
brief
each other?
conversation. It wasn't nothing crazy. But I think a few days later, based on how the conversation went, based on where I saw her mind and her spirit was, I had came across I re-came across an article that I saw a while ago about quantum entanglement and how it translates to love. Love of celestial bodies in the universe, but also on the human level. So I'm like, she would appreciate this. Sent it to her. That sparked a longer conversation because we both into that type of stuff. And before you know it, it kind of became a informational tag. She would come across something she felt like would resonate with me. She'd send it over, vice versa. We'll have a conversation about it. But nothing remotely like romantic. Of course, I knew, she fine and all of that. Hopefully she thought the same thing about me then. Maybe I grew on her. But 2, 3, maybe 4 months in, it got to the point where we was talking every day, most times a day. And we was never phone people. She out doing van life. I'm active in the community doing my thing. I'm a father as well. We 1,400 miles away. She in Texas, I'm in Jersey. So all of our communication was DM voice notes. And we would just do kind of all day. It allowed us to still have our life, do what we needed to do,
Right.
but still develop a certain level of rapport and how we communicated. And probably a good 4 months in, we had our first date within our own imagination, something that we call the ethos. And we didn't realize it was going to shift the platonic energy into something romantic until we decided, like, you know what? We know about quantum mechanics. We know energy doesn't know space and time like the mind thinks it does. So I got some time. Let's just take 5 minutes and go into our imagination with each other and see what happens. And when you come out the end, tell me what you experienced and vice versa. We did that, and when we came out the other end, we had pretty much the exact same experience. And there was a certain level of intimacy in that imagination session that kind of opened the door like, hold up, there's something more here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Wow, that's that's deep. That's deep.
Right.
Not too many people like do those kind of stuff, right? And you wouldn't even hear couples who've been married for 20, 30, 40, 50 years don't meditate together. You know, don't have sex in silence. You know what I'm saying? And we're about to go into that later. So like what you guys do is new and intriguing, you know? And I see that you guys are not the traditional relationship for our generation. How important is it to give our generation and every other generation a different
I
perspective
don't
on
know that
relationships?
our intention or our goal is to give other people advice or to be a staple of what other people should admire. I don't think that's our intentional goal. But one thing that we've always had in common is we teach through transparency, which means that I'm going to tell my story, take what you need, leave what you don't.
Exactly.
If that resonates with your spirit, then maybe that may be something that you may want to implement along your journey. But
Right.
unless someone comes to us and specifically asks for advice, then what we give them will be intentional. Outside of that, we just live our lives, and we have a lot of joy in having the freedom to decide what happens for us. And we just kind of live and show and guide other people based on our transparency. But there's no importance. But there is an importance, I will say that. There is an importance in people being able to see not how we have our relationship, but that you can choose to have whatever relationship you desire. So we don't create our own paradigm and tell other people, you need to follow this. I don't want to be that type of couple, but it does also motivate people to know that you can make your own decisions. You can do what's best for you, even if the rest of the world does not do that, and you can be confident in those decisions.
And I want to chime in real quick, agree with all of that. And with that being said, we're actually starting to realize more and more, I guess, the necessity for people who may be seeing what we're doing. Because I saw a comment earlier on when I post our fourth episode of the podcast is up today. So people really been responding very well and not just listening, but sparking conversations with their mate on social media. And I saw a comment that said, please keep putting this type of imagery out, because a lot of us have gone our whole lives and not seen these expressions of intimacy, not from our parents, not from our loved ones, our family. So it's making me realize more and more that what's regular for us, not that it's like superhuman to anybody else, but just these images are necessary. And we could march all day. You know, I had a nonprofit, Just Do Something, before I kind of got to my spiritual journey, if you will. And I started to realize that you can't consistently keep people showing up to the meetings and doing the rallies or whatever it is we're trying to do at the moment until they tap into their heart chakra, until they tap into that love. And I see us being active in a way where we are freedom fighters based off the heart, based off intimacy and things of that nature. So we are learning as we go how important some of this stuff, that's just how we live our life, is to other people, and we do appreciate that.
Word. Man, I know we are limited on time, but if you can elaborate just a bit more on the heart chakra, and you speak on that a lot. How important is the heart chakra, and how can you aspire
Until
or
people,
potentially
because everybody
reach
want to go
your
to the
crown
third eye,
chakra?
everybody want to go to the crown, because that's where the CDs, the special powers, is what they call it in Sanskrit. That's where all that type of stuff comes. And a lot of times we take an approach to spirituality to improve our humanhood, as opposed to going beyond our humanhood. And we want what comes with being a spiritual master and all this other stuff. So with the heart chakra, it's super important to work on that first, because it comes, the Sanskrit term for it, like I always say, is anahata. Anahata translates to unstruck, unbeaten. And what that pretty much means is, until you tap into that heart chakra, you're going to be relegated to plugging into outlets of energy and love via people, places, and things. And your chase is going to be an external chase because you're not realizing that you have this love, this energy, this divine force that's flowing through you, that's available by tapping into your heart, tapping into your heart chakra. And that's not going nowhere. That's not going to cheat on you. That's not going to do you wrong. That's not going to flake out on you. But until you shift your attention from the outside sources to what's already here, you're left relegated to the outside world to get your love, to get your satiation or whatever it may be. So that heart chakra piece is super important. And when you tap into it, you still appreciate what comes from the external, but you are no longer bound to love from the outside world. Regardless of who come and go, I still got my one-way ticket to tap into that divine energy whenever I feel like it.
Give us
Two
a
very
couple of
simple
ways in
ways where
which we can
attention
tap
goes,
into
energy
our heart chakra.
flows. So one of the very simple things you could do is either lay down or sit with your spine straight. An erect spine is always important. And just allow your thoughts, your attention and intention to flow into this central point in your chest. And each chakra has a certain amount of petals. So for the heart chakra, it's 12 petals. So you can imagine a green lotus flower with 12 petals emanating in your heart, right? Use your imagination, use that inner child energy to like kind of paint that picture within your chest and then just sit with that energy. If you're not very imaginative, because a lot of people have lost their connection to their inner child and we can't even imagine, use your breath. And all you got to do is same position, either laying down or sitting erect. Just literally take deep, smooth, elongated breaths in and out of the chest. That will start to open up those energetic cobwebs over the heart chakra.
Man, I always say that imagination is the best station. We have all of this right now because someone's imagined it, and someone applied their ideas into fruition. So imagination is key, and thank you for touching on that, beloved. And speaking on love and transparency, right? DoX, what was it about Candyss that made you say, like, damn, she's the one? And Candyss, for
I'm
you,
gonna let you go.
what was it about DoX that made you say,
because I always go
I
first
think
with
he's
these
the
type
one?
of questions. Let's get it, Miss Love.
That is a good question. I knew that he was the one when time shifted. And what I mean by that is I was on my healing journey before my husband entered my life. I was very dedicated to my personal journey. And that is honestly all that mattered to me before any relationship. And so when my husband came into my life based on things we would speak about, he would say one thing and it would kind of send me down a rabbit hole into myself. And it was like, I don't know that I would have touched that aspect of my healing journey if you weren't present. And then the same things will happen for him. I would mention something and it would send him down a rabbit hole of his healing. And then it just kind of kept happening to where one day he said, every week I see you heal a different version of yourself. And I'm like, yeah, and it's all kind of based on things that you are saying that's like highlighting. And this is just in natural conversation where it's just kind of highlighting, I need to sit with this part of myself, or I need to sit with that part of myself. And what I recognize is what would at first take me maybe weeks or felt like I was dwelling in this healing phase for months. Now it was taking days, maybe a day to heal, to purge, to allow those emotions to surface and get them out of my system. And we had a conversation. It's like time has shifted for us in regards to our healing. And because everything was so, everything was just a sign, a signal, a number, a bird, like cardinals, everything was just all of these signs that everything was in alignment. And because of that, that's what gave me the drive to continue to explore what this is, what this could possibly be, because I was actually still continuing my healing process. And one of my main things was I did not want to be in a relationship
Right.
because I didn't need a relationship, anybody, or anything taking me away from my healing process. I didn't want anything to distract me from my healing process. So now I'm in a union and it's driving me deeper into my healing process. And I have a man who's here who's holding perfect space for me, that is deeply nurturing, that is loving, understanding, compassionate, and knows how to hold space for me the way that I need space held for me personally. It was perfect grounds for me to continue to flourish. And that's exactly what I did. When I started off with my husband, I was 60 pounds overweight. I was just working on my relationship with myself, with my body. And so many aspects of me changed to where I don't even look like the same person that I did when he and I first got together. So that was how I knew it was time to stay grounded in this foundation that we built.
And for me, like for her to be 1,400 miles away, it was, once we realized there was some romantic energy there, something beyond platonic, it was still another 4 months before I actually got to come out here to Houston and be with her in the flesh. But even at that point, I had never felt so seen. I had never felt so accepted, so nurtured. Like, you're not even here with me. And I feel like just the conversations we have is like, you know, when fellas, when you're in the car, you're driving, they go put that hand behind your neck and just kind of rub on your neck. She was doing that without even being in my person. And when I get out there, I told this story to our family over Christmas. So whenever like powerful couples get together, I feel like it's based in catastrophe. I think they said that on Speed, if anybody remember that movie. But it was literally a natural, quote unquote, disaster out here in Houston. I'm from the East Coast, you in New York, right? We get a foot of snow. We still got to work. Oh, you in East Orange?
Yeah.
All right, we get a foot of snow.
But
we probably still got to go to work.
I'm in East Orange.
They
right
get
now.
a little crop
Yeah.
dust and everything shuts down, right? But they did have the coldest.
The winter storm.
Yeah, they had the coldest winter storm like probably in like 70 years. So everything got shut down. People's pipes is bursting. It's like hour-long lines to get gas. All the electricity went out. And mind you, it was like I think the day before I was supposed to leave, and we were in this beautiful Airbnb on Galveston Beach. So I wake up like 4 in the morning, and she's like running all over the place. Like, she's bundled up. She got all these coats on. And I'm like, yo, what's happening? There's no light. It's dark. And I look down at myself. She done found every blanket, every sheet, every piece of clothing I had because the power had went out. It was cold on the beach. And put it over me like I'm in a womb almost. Right? She built me a fort. And once she didn't even wake me up, she had been up for an hour and a half, didn't even tell me what was going on, just so I could be comfortable. Like, I low-key knew in that moment, like, oh, nah, this about to be my wife. And it still was at a point where I ain't want marriage either. We had talked about that a lot.
This
was
is deep.
genuine in that. But moments like that, it's just like, and those type of moments continue to happen. So I just got to, like, bro, what do you think?
So quick question. Right. So quick question. In that moment, you was like, damn, like you low key thought she was the one. Did you ever got that type of
Nah, and it's
nurturing
no
and that type
disrespect
of
to
love
previous
from someone
partners. I feel
before?
like I got everything I was supposed to get from those partners, the lessons and the levels of love that they were able to give me. But those levels of nurturing is something I always felt like I was fighting for. I remember being in a previous relationship, and I used to have to like I would work 13, 14-hour days. You know, I was driving for a living at the time, and my back and my neck would be all messed up, and I would almost feel apprehensive to ask for a massage because I felt like I was gonna feel like a burden because, you know, when she would do it, like, all right, nah, come on, like, all right, let's keep it moving. She wouldn't even want to do it, and it got to the point where I felt like I was doing too much, and I should be more of a man and just take it. So not only not having to fight for it, but now not having to ask. She already knows the things that's going to make me feel comfortable, things that's going to make me feel safe, things that I'm not even processing in my own mind that I need yet. She's already handing them to me and doing it over and over, day in and day out. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Word, man. That's peace right there. That's peace. So of course, Candice, I know like many women, you guys have, or you know what I'm saying, you probably had a list of what you wanted your next husband or your next boyfriend to be like, right? Um, so, and of course, Dox, like he came in, as he just said, he has a son, you know, a young seed and everything. Was your list uh, with, was your list like, I do not want my next husband or my next boyfriend to have a kid? And how was that? And how did that play out, knowing that he had a kid, knowing that, damn, he may be my
Yeah,
next
okay, you
boyfriend,
asked
he
some
may be
great
my next
questions.
husband? How did that play out in your mind?
So, you know, like I said, I was really in my
Thank you.
healing space, and early on we were very open and honest about the fact, like, I don't want no relationship. This is cool, I'm enjoying myself, but I don't want anything serious. And so before and even in the midst of us sharing in energy, I didn't want a relationship at all, and he didn't either. It's just not the space that we were in. So I didn't even have to think about, do I want someone who has a child? Because the answer was no. I didn't want anyone at all. But prior to my healing journey, that was one of the stipulations, that I did not want a man who had a child. One of the reasons was I was still deciding if I wanted to have children myself. And at that time, years ago, I wanted to have that first experience with my husband and it just be my experience. I didn't want to have to be the second person that he had a child with. I just felt like it would take away from my experience. And there's nothing wrong with that if other people experience it, but it's just not what I wanted for myself. And then on top of that, I ain't want to have to deal with nobody's child's mama. I ain't want to have to deal with none of that. And that's just the truth of the matter. I ain't got no patience for it. It's like, I'm out here living my good life. I'm traveling with my German Shepherd and I'm at national parks. I'm living it up. I didn't have any room for anything that did not fit into my world. And so, yes, I did have stipulations on what I wanted and what I was willing to accept. And then I met him and it's like, definitely just said I didn't want to have a relationship, and I didn't want to have a relationship with a man who had a child. And at that time, his son's mom was very difficult. I didn't have the capacity to have a good relationship with her because she wasn't open to it. And so it was the thing that I did not want to experience.
Right.
And that forced me to have to like really ask myself, is this something that I really want to take myself through? Because however their relationship is also determines what my relationship can be with her, with the child, in the dynamic of a family that already exists. So it also triggered my own personal wounds of not wanting to have someone who was connected to another woman. And so I had to really sit with myself and ask very real questions. Right. What are the pros to me being in a union like this? And just so happened, all of our pros, that was just me, him, and God, outweighed the fact that this was emotionally taxing on my heart, the situation with his son's mom. I had to really force myself to find compassion for her behavior, even when it was very mean towards me. I had to really find compassion with the fact that he's trying to find the healthiest way to navigate this difficult relationship and navigate my needs and also not cause any disruption so he can have a healthy relationship with his son. And so it's just so many moving parts, and it was what I was trying to avoid. But when you see so many moving pieces that all are called God in the midst of this situation, you can't ignore it. It's like, okay, this is definitely God because it's aligned perfectly. I definitely need to focus on having a softer heart. So this is aligned perfectly, even though it didn't feel good. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. One of my main
Dealing
prayers
with the
was
heart
to
chakra.
have a softer heart. I needed to, and I'm already a forgiving person, but I forgive people, and then I don't want to have nothing to do with you no more.
Right.
I can forgive you and still love you, and you can go on about your business. But now I was forced to
Right.
forgive and love and still remain in the
Right.
dynamic. So I realized that I was still being thrusted into my healing, and that is what trumped. That's what trumped what my initial thought that I wanted
As
was.
we all are. So real quick, did you think that, because I kind of suffer with that too, right? Especially, of course, you being from Houston, you know, um, growing up in rough times and so forth. Did you think that
No,
having a soft heart
and
would
this
make
was
you
actually
weak?
the opposite because I've always been the
Okay.
person that forgave first. I've always been the person that apologized first. I've always been the bigger person to where, so we don't have to have any turmoil or any conflict. I've always been the person that kind of like wilted in the situations where, so everybody could be in a loving
And yeah,
environment. And so what this situation taught me is to not do that no more. Now I learned I had to stand up for myself. I had to speak up for myself. I had to assert my authority and show people how to treat me and have very clear and firm boundaries on how I was allowing myself to be treated. And so my fear has never been to look weak because I'm very much so in my heart. I'm very much so in my feminine and in my softness. But at this point, I was so in my softness. I was so much in my heart that it was being taken advantage of. So it forced me to have to tap into my warrior spirit, not wounds, not walls, but my warrior spirit and say, with love, you got me effed up. With love, you're not allowed to treat me that way. So the softness I've never
right.
felt was a reflection of weakness.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely,
So
because what
love can be
happens is
soft and hard
sometimes you have
at
to meet
different times.
people where they are. And this is how God works. God doesn't always meet people with, oh, it's okay, it's all right, just don't do it again. Sometimes God has to put you on your ass to show you this is not what's necessary, but it still comes from a place of love. So sometimes the mask has to change to meet someone where they are to get the point across, and love still lives here.
Word, word. Love that, love that. Now, you guys mentioned that, and I think for both of you, when you came together on, social media, you guys were in your healing journeys at different levels and so forth. Um, so people always say, like, yo, I want to be healed first before, as you, sister, was saying, I want to be healed, or I want to focus on healing and then see if I can get into another relationship. In my perspective,
Yeah.
healing is
Yeah.
a never ending process. You can never be 100% healed. There's always something to work on. There's always something to fix, right? Because as the saying goes, self-improvement is the basis for community development. So you should always improve self every day. You should always improve and learn something new every day. That's how you elevate. So what I'm getting at is that, and I think you alluded this, and I think you alluded to this earlier, Sister Candice, that Brother DoX, he helped you along your healing journey. And that's imperative. I want both of you, and I'm pretty sure Sister Candice helped you, Brother DoX, along your healing journey, and y'all are still helping each other. So that's where I want to go at. Helping each other along your healing journey and helping each other to heal. Because a lot of people think that I just need to heal for self and by myself. But you guys did it the opposite. You guys healed with each other,
Yeah.
and you
At
helped each other
this
heal,
point, we
and
feel
you helped
like
each other
on a
elevate.
soul level,
Talk about that.
we make pacts with other souls before we come into an actual human experience. And there are going to be people that's going to teach you lessons through pain. There's going to be people that made a pact just to acknowledge you on a tough day and just say hi and keep it. Like, there's all these different soul level pacts that we make, and they turn into human experiences and human relationships. But the way that we have made our pact and what people will call soulmates or twin flames or whatever you want to call it, the main purpose of our relationship, as beautiful as the love that we express is to teach each other. She calls me Baba and Guru. I call her Gurvis. Gurvis is female Guru. The main component of our relationship is us pushing each other, and not in a forceful way. We 9 times out of 10 don't have to have an intentional conversation to say, I think you should be doing this, or I think you should be doing that. It just kind of spills out of our natural interaction, natural conversation, me doing something that she sees and incorporates, and vice versa. Even what she was talking about as far as the blended family situation. Via that situation, I learned, and I think a lot of men are dealing with this, especially men that are in quote unquote blended families. To a certain degree, we lose sight of the fact that we're not just fighting for the child. We're not just fighting for a certain level of balance in how we handle the co-parenting. To a certain degree, I realized I was fighting for how she saw me. I was fighting for, well, I know I'm a good guy. I know I'm a good person. I don't deserve to have to deal with some of the stuff I'm dealing with you. Why don't you see me in a certain way? That's not her responsibility. It's also not my bag to have to fight for that. I'm no longer at a point in my life where I'm going to fight for anybody to see me in the way I see myself. I don't learn that lesson. I'm not able to draw back and not yell and scream and have to go through 2 and 3 days of turmoil because you have a certain opinion of something I did or how you have it. I'm comfortable in my space, and I'm not going to fight with you for you to see the beautiful person that I know I am. I don't get to that point until we have the conversations where she's like, this is a lot on me, right? And I'm not saying I can't do this with you, but when you feel effed up, I feel effed up. When you get into these low modes because of what you're dealing with those situations, it affects me, and I don't know if I'm prepared to deal with that. Of course, we made the decision to go forward, but that wouldn't have happened if I didn't take those conversations and say, this being is extremely important to me. And beyond that, she's highlighting a blind spot that I see within myself, that I'm allowing myself to kind of be taken advantage of in certain ways. And it's no diss, it's no not to my son's mother. We have all been teaching each other in beautiful ways via pain, also via patience, via love, and via all of us being able to evolve, about each of us highlighting different blind spots within ourselves. So at this point, I feel like so many people are chasing that cushy, lovey-dovey type of relationship. And again, that's beautiful, and we definitely do have that. The crux, the purpose of any relationship is to learn. So people feel like, you know, I broke up with such and such after 10 or 15 years, we failed. Did you get your lessons? Did you learn? Did you see more of yourself? Did you heal in some way, shape, or form, either through pain or through love? Like she always says, we have the choice to learn our lessons via love. I don't get to the point where I demand to learn my. And that's no longer.
Wow. Wow, man. Well, as Jay once said, man, a loss and a loss is a lesson. Appreciate the pain. It's a blessing.
Yeah.
You feel me? So definitely. It's gonna hurt, right? It's gonna hurt, and it's gonna be effed up. Like, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? I put my all into this relationship, and granted, I've been there, so I feel the pain and I see it, you know. But as they say, you should always see the good in every bad situation, right? And sometimes that's hard to see because you're seeing it from a different angle. But yeah, man. So let's switch gears a bit, right? Sex
Me neither
in
till I got
silence.
here.
Damn, I never even heard about that before. Yo, when I see the video on that, I'm like, yo, something like this really exists. Talk about that, beloved. Was it an idea
It kind
that
of
came
just
into
happened.
fruition,
It
or
happened
did
over
it just
time. It
happen?
was never a conversation we had. She did take the onus. The first time we had sex at the, you know, when I came out there the first time at the Airbnb, the TV did stay on, But again, that was very early into our connection. But at a certain point, very quickly actually, and mind you, I didn't have a TV in my house, in my apartment when I was still living in Jersey. So that was one thing. And then when I would come out here, for the most part, we would, get hotels or the Airbnbs. And it just was a situation where we had so much to talk about, so many other different ways to connect, that it wasn't really necessary to turn on the TV anyway. Music here and there and stuff like that, but very early on into our experiences, right when it's, things is getting hot and heavy, she would, whatever was on, she'd just take the remote, turn it off, right? And I'm in the moment, so I'm not tripping, and I started to realize the first few times, just her moans, just the sound of her voice, like, I had never really gotten to appreciate that in previous situations because I was so, having a TV on was like the background noise. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of almost need that, and I almost used to use it as a point of focus. Like, if I'm getting close to climax and I ain't ready, I'm gonna go to the like it was almost like an energetic sexual crutch. But I don't need that in this type of situation because I've never connected with a woman on this level. So the first few times she went to turn it off, in my mind, it's like, yo, this silence mixed with our natural breathing and this is lit. And it got to the point we still never had a conversation about it, but it's just the ritual now when it's time to get to it, everything is getting turned off and we have a beautiful space. Our love has literally built a beautiful home that doubles as our spiritual event space, but it's so quiet in here throughout the course of a day anyway that the silence is almost loud. The silence almost has its own frequency and it's healing in its own nature. So you couple that with her breathing, with the moans. I'm a vocal person during sex. I talk to each other. It's like, bro, what was I doing before this? And if you are a couple or you're single and you're just doing your thing, just give it a shot at least one time. Right. But I would advocate, make sure it's with somebody you really connect with on a certain level. Because to do that, you're being very vulnerable. You're being very transparent. And you're saying, hey, we already sharing souls right now in this experience, and not having a buffer, not covering up with Netflix or movie or music. Right. You got to kind of be in a certain space for that to feel comfortable for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Now, real quick, do you guys pray or meditate before having sex?
I've heard of that before. Is the prayer, is the meditation, because the way that we live our lives, most of the time we are in silence. So my husband and I live together. There's days where we say 10, 20 words to each other because we don't need words like that. At some point, words become useless. And not to say that prayer becomes useless, but when you are the living prayer, it's not even necessary because every act that you do has a energy of honor attached to it, has an energy of intention attached to it, has an energy of purity attached to it. So my husband does breath work during our sexual intimacy as well. And then he'll also lead or guide me or instruct me to also do breath work as well. So it's still us connecting to breath, which is God. Mm-hmm. But to sit and say an actual prayer is not really necessary because once we get into that space, God is also in that space with us.
Mm-hmm. So the sex is the prayer. It is the meditation.
Absolutely.
Deep. Man, deep. And as Sister Candyss was saying, you are the prayer as well. You are the words. You are the spiritual essence that's flowing through the air and through the universe.
He did.
Yeah,
Who said I love you?
Yeah, you asking great questions. Nobody ever asked this type of stuff.
No one has ever asked these questions.
Word. How is that? So
no,
sister, was you waiting?
Actually, so he explained to you how we went into the ethos, which is the imagination visualizations. And so we went into the ethos, and what would happen when we would go to these spaces and then come out of these spaces, we would share our experience. And what we would realize is that we shared like almost exactly the exact same experience. And so in one of those experiences, we had a moment that, I hadn't had any sexual connection with anyone in 4 years. I hadn't had any intimacy, no physical touch. At that point, I wasn't even getting massages because I didn't know that I needed that type of physical touch. And so when we went into the ethos, this was something that we explored. And then when we came out, we didn't even have to talk about what happened in the ethos. We just knew that we shared sexual energy. And that was the night that he said that he loved me. And what we also know is that a relationship is not required for souls to know that they've been on this journey many lifetimes. So it wasn't confusing when he told me that he loved me. It wasn't confusing when I told him that I loved him back. And that also wasn't a pathway to like, we go together now.
Right.
It wasn't even that. It was just the harmony in knowing that I have connected with this soul many times, and for us to share our love for each other was just acknowledging that God was present in our experience.
Absolutely.
Indeed, indeed,
Right now.
man. God is always present, right? God is always present.
No,
Do you celebrate
we don't
Valentine's
really
Day?
celebrate
Why?
any
Why not?
holiday in general, but there are times where there's like a nostalgia. Like for Christmas, we don't celebrate Christmas.
You celebrate life.
We
that happens to be
right.
yeah.
I just have certain childhood memories that I enjoy remaking because it allows my inner child to feel good. So it's not necessarily the celebration of holidays, especially when it comes to Valentine's Day. It's not necessary. I don't get anything from it because what people typically celebrate on that one day, that's a Tuesday for us. What people typically do on that one day, that's a Wednesday for us. The connection that we have, we couldn't make it even more of a connection just because it's a specific day. I don't like candy. I don't like chocolate. I don't
Candyss.
I don't need flowers. I
get her flowers though.
I don't need huge gestures to show that you love me in the day, because like if you saw the video that I posted today where he was able to hold space for me while I was sharing the insecurity, that's Valentine's Day. Having the capacity to have a partner who knows how to show up for you on any given day, that's Valentine's Day for me.
And that, no, I was just going to say, as a man, that has been also extremely healing as well. Because I always say she's extremely difficult to shop for. I got to like really tap into my intuition. I can't even say shop because she don't want nothing material. I've never experienced that. And society tells us as men, especially black men, you got to get the Birkin bag. You got to be making a certain amount of money and paying the majority of the bills. It's never been that type of situation, almost to the point where I wanted to get, some type of gaudy thing. And I, kind of ask her like, yo, how you feel about it? I don't want that. I want an experience. Spend your money on an actual experience. So that's been healing in so many different ways, because it's always been this intense pressure to not only be able to take care of myself, now being a father, to take care of my son. It's always been this pressure. I got to pay 100% of the bills. I got to do the trips. I got to get the Birkin bags. And here's this woman telling me, I don't care about none of that. I want what's in your heart in any way that manifests. So that's been extremely healing for me as a man. And men, if you're listening, this does exist, but you got to do the work for yourself for us to manifest.
Word. Love that. And I was saying that DoX was or is being the emotional support for you that you need, right, at any given time, which is key and which is imperative for or in any relationship. So let's see.
I did want to say one thing.
I had lost my train of thought.
When it comes to the type of relationship that he and I have, I've done and he's done enough work individually to where I'm a conduit and he's a conduit, but I don't heal him. And he does not heal me. And he also knows how to do the internal work on his own, and I know how to do the internal work on my own, to where I don't use him to put medicine on my wounds. Now,
Right. But
Yes,
So would you say that he
he's a
supports in
conduit.
your
And so
healing
the reason why it's
and
important to make
aids
that
to your healing?
distinction is because you do have people who are entering relationships that are like, no, you're supposed to heal me, or no, you're supposed to hold space for me. And that's not true. Your partner is not required to hold space for you. Your partner is not required to take on your emotional baggage, your emotional wounds, and your emotional trauma. Your soul came here to do that individual work. Now, if you have someone who has the capacity to hold space for you, then that's beautiful. If you have someone who has the capacity to be supportive for you in the ways that you specifically need, then that's beautiful. But someone just listening is also holding space. Someone being able to bring you breakfast because they don't have any other tool to be able to hold space for you, is still them holding space. But people have to know that your healing is your responsibility and it's nobody else's job. Nobody can heal you. Nobody can guide you and tell you what to do. That is something that people have to take the initiative to do on their own, and they have to be intentional about their individual journey. And so in our relationship, before the union is God, DoX as his individual soul, Candyss as her individual soul, as individual priorities, and then we have our relationship, our union that is a priority. And so our healing journey is our individual priority for ourselves. I think it's important for people to remember that that is nobody else's responsibility.
Word, word. All right, family, we are winding down to the end of this interview. Listen, if you want to see the full interview, definitely click the link in the bio and subscribe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe. You can listen to us on Spotify. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on Google Podcasts and any other podcast outlet that you're on. Definitely support, subscribe, and listen to this whole interview, and also you can catch the clips and sound bites of this interview on our page, DTR 360 Books. For Brother DoX and Sister Candyss, what is your love language?
Well, I've discovered that I have many love languages. And one thing that I also say when it comes to love languages, many people have picked up the book, right, and they've allowed the book to tell them what their love language is. Also change based on what your needs are at that time, based on what phase of your life you're in, based on what wound or what trauma you're healing. And so I love words of affirmation. I love physical touch and affection. And I also love, which we've acknowledged recently, that one of my love languages is a proper apology. Apologizing in a way that best resonates with my spirit. That is a love language that has never been taught. But that's what my spirit showed me that is necessary for, the health of our union.
And I won't really get into the love language. The thing I'll say that
Indeed,
that question sparked in my mind is I think the foundation of our love is our inner children. Our inner child work had to be done in individual ways before we came together. And as adult, as the footage and the stuff that we put out may seem, the crux of all that we do is those aspects of our inner children that get to play with each other, that get to laugh, that get to joke. Sometimes you may not see those moments via social media because we're doing our best to put out moments that, people kind of need. You will start to see more of that, and you'll probably see that in our podcast, how regular we can be. But us going to the park, us watching movies, I introduced her to battle rap. She introduced me to Survive and all that type of stuff. We be bugging out. And to a certain degree, that's another part of the healing that has come from just her being her natural self. Because as a man, you feel like you got to be on your square. You got to be serious. You can't do too much joking. You may show chinks in your armor, and a woman may think you soft if you cry in front of her, all these types of things. So my inner child feels completely safe to flow in any way he may need to, and same thing vice versa. So for the most part, our inner children walk us into whatever expression our love needs to be in that moment. Some people may say that as that's a particular love language. And like she says, even those love languages shift from moment to moment for everybody. But I think the foundation of our relationship being so healthy is that we are very much so in touch with our own inner children, and we continue to reintroduce our inner children to each other day in and day out.
Yes, and that foundation is deep. Foundation is important to any relationship as well. Speaking on love, though, what is love?
I answered this question first last time on the documentary, so it's your turn.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I did. I did. Brandon asked us that same question.
He did ask us that question.
Well, answer it again, brother. Well, answer it again, brother.
Lord, okay. You ask really good questions. I would say for me, because love is categorized based on the individual soul, their experiences, their perception, their childhood, their upbringing. And for me, love looks like total freedom to evolve at the capacity that my soul needs to evolve with someone who also is a safe space for me to bear the truth of who I am and the truth of the shape-shifting of who I am in any given moment.
And for me, I'm gonna give the same answer I gave in the documentary because I didn't put it in there, so I can say it again. As a meditation teacher, I understand the most powerful tool we have is our attention. Where attention goes, energy flows. Wherever you direct that attention, that's what you're going to end up creating the reality you got to deal with, positive or negative. So at this point, I've spent so much time directing my attention to one-pointed aspects of life, whether it was me starting to meditate by looking at a dot called Shrataka. It's a certain technique you could do to like kind of hone and sharpen your attention. But I've worked so much with my attention that I realize now that's actually the basis of showing love to somebody. When you can give so much of your attention to another thing, not just an individual. It's been times I've been zoned out on a blade of grass, on a flower, on a tree, sun gazing on the sun. You give so much attention to it that little I thought, that little me thought that's running around in your head that says, I need this, I want, that starts to fade. That starts to disappear. And the needs, the energy, the infrastructure of whatever it is you're giving your attention to, that becomes your whole world. And everything else kind of disintegrates into the background. This is why the yogis who go to levels of self-realization and enlightenment, this is why they're touted the way they are. Because when you can do that with one thing, you take that ability of bringing your attention to everything. And now when I have a conversation with my wife, my mind ain't going 100 different places. I'm not checking out. If she gets caught in something she says and she loses track, I'm like, oh no, you said this. And the post we put up today, when we was in that moment, we was just trying to record the technique. The moment got real. She was able to express some stuff in the technique, tattooed my heart, where she was able to open up. And as I'm writing, I can feel the movement in her body that something is happening. I hear the sniffle. I'm looking up, and she had to even point it out to me that when I handed the notebook over to her, when I was finished writing, I'm seeing she's becoming vulnerable. She was like, Docs, look how your eyes never looked away from me. Mm-hmm. Complete devotion and attention to whatever it is she needed. I ain't have to tell her be strong. I ain't have to talk her through what she was feeling. All I needed to do was give her my complete attention. There was no world. There was no Docs, the meditation teacher. There was no downstairs in that moment because we was upstairs in the bed. All that existed was this being right here. So that's, I think, the crux of what love really is, to give so much of your attention to something that you low-key disappear. Mm-hmm.
A couple more questions. Now, I want to touch on gender roles for a bit. Because, you know, in today's society, we lack gender roles. Are you traditional in that aspect of having gender roles?
No,
or it's
we're
like, whatever,
not traditional.
I do
so
this,
this
you
is
do that,
the thing.
it really doesn't
It's
matter.
a little bit of both.
It's a little bit of both because I'm not opposed to, even though I don't hold myself to any tradition, but I'm not opposed to cleaning. I can't cook. Well, I'm changing it. I'm fixing it. I can cook cook certain things now. But I'm not opposed to doing those things. When I was younger, I always was like, I can't wait till I get married so I can cook and clean and do these things. As I got older, it's not something that I subscribe to, but I love my husband, so I love making sure that he has a space that feels safe to him, that feels good to him. There's certain things that I enjoy doing around the house with herbs in it. You know, I enjoy doing those
Making my
things.
tea.
Yeah, making his tea. But the difference with us is it's not you're supposed to do this and I'm supposed to do this. Right now, roles have shifted to where my husband is enjoying cleaning because that's meditation to him. He enjoys doing dishes because that's meditation to him, and cooking, right? And so I'm doing the clerical logistic things in regards to calling people about business or creating the content for our social media platforms to where me to be able to tap into my creative, and then also providing a space to where our space is, you know, cleared. And then when it's time for us to go to bed, I'm rubbing his back or rubbing his feet or running his bath water. It just shifts into whatever it needs to be, whatever the person needs at that moment. If I know my husband was really tired the night before, then I'm gonna wash dishes. But there's no, you didn't do this, or I need you to do that.
And low key, we don't even have to talk about it because of that attention thing again. Right. If I come down here, we just shot a podcast and she's been at the computer for the last 2 hours, I'm gonna make sure the house clean. Like that's just something that needs to be done in that moment. So our appreciation for what each other is doing in the moment expresses to us this is what needs to be done. And one day it could be me doing it, the next day it could be her doing it. But attentiveness, don't even have to talk about it.
Yeah.
But that's powerful, and I just want to emphasize real quick that both of you are taking the initiative to do things around the house. You don't wait on the other person to say, can you do this, or do this, baby? Hey, baby, can you do this and do that? You guys take initiative because you know it needs to be done. So I just want to emphasize that, and that's important because some relationships are not like that, and some men and women aren't like that. They want to be told what to do, right? Can you do this for me? Can you do that? Can you do this? Like, no, I know that there's dishes in the sink. I'm going to wash the dishes. I know that floors need to be swept. I'm going to sweep the floors. I know that my wife, she's handling, she's on the computer. I'm going to do this. And that's the real relationship. You guys working together.
And then
right?
low-key, there are
So I
certain
just wanted
things
to point that out.
we do out of the road. She's not taking out no trash. You know what I'm saying? If I may happen to sweep and clean the house, she got the copal and the sage and the palo santo. I don't really have to do that. She knows I don't necessarily like to wash clothes. I haven't had to wash clothes since I've been here. So there are certain things in unison with that flow where it's like, you know what, these things make sense for us to be able to honor to each other. Exactly.
And you communicating on those different things.
Yeah, and it's just
so that
really,
when it do happen,
we say
you
all
guys
the
will be on
time,
the
we
same
are
page.
such a beautiful team because that's what it is. It really comes down to teamwork, like not feeling away or having, you know, residue of emotion that's not necessary. We really work as a team. If I know my husband is feeling away and he may not feel like cooking, I'm about to go get something healthy for him to eat. So it's just really operating in the team, and we're picking up on what each other's needs are and what the needs are for our space so we can operate in a very healthy home.
Which has also translated into our ability to have business together and make money off of the fact that we are a great team just with each other.
Man, great segue because I was just about to get into that. Man, speaking on business and love and money, let's just put it that way. Love and money. How important is it with creating a business together? Because marriage is about business, right? Point blank. And uh, a large part of why marriages fail is because of lack of finances, right? And so I just wanted to put it out there. How important is having a business together? Because I know separately you guys do a lot at separate capacities. So how is it coming together, forging like a podcast together? And I'm pretty sure you guys have other businesses or maybe working on other businesses together. How is that, and why did you think that having a business will sustain and even,
Yeah, I think for
help
us,
tighten our
a
bond, so to
business
speak?
was never the goal. It was never the intention. It wasn't even a thought. It was just,
Okay.
we really allow God to guide us. And when God says move, it just kind of happens. So right now we have our retreats, that our emotional healing retreats that we do in Mexico. People have been saying, oh, y'all should do a retreat. Y'all should do a retreat. And literally one day we, out of the blue, will mention like, okay, let me look at an Airbnb. And from there, just so many retreat spaces will pop up, and then God just guides us in what's next. So one thing that is necessary to touch on is many people are prisoner to systems, they're prisoner to business plans, they're prisoner to do lists. And we don't do that. We really just sit with whatever God is asking us to do. There's no 5-year plan. There's no 1-year plan. It's whenever we hear that voice, we move, we focus on that, and we bring it into fruition. And so I feel that the reason our union has been so strong in our business is because it is not the main focus. Right. When it is the focus, it's the focus. But other than that, we're giving each other real nice permission to rest, to not be in business, to not work, to not have to do this, to not have all of these plans that create stress. We really are in a space to where our reward is really being able to have ease in our life. And even if that means money is not at its optimal, what it could be, if money isn't coming in as strongly as it normally would. Our peace of mind is way more important. But also, like right now, we're in a phase of like just turning up. That's because the last 3 months, we've been resting in silence, in meditation, sitting with God, sitting with if emotional fear comes up about not having enough money, not forcing business into submission. And so now we're in a space to where everything is beautiful because we gave ourselves that time to not be a prisoner to the business aspect.
You said it all.
Word. And I know when DoX came out there to live, you guys built a new house from scratch, right? Tell us about that process. And was it that you wanted to live in a new space that will commemorate your relationship?
This is the
Or
same space
what
she
was that
lived in
process
when she
like?
was by herself, but it was, of course, a smaller portion, and we built on top of that, extended that out. And initially, she had a certain amount of savings. She was in the military, police officer, school teacher. I was just getting to the point, thugging it out here, spiritually, so to speak, where I was finding my way to my abundance after a long period of drought, being on disability, being blind, getting fired from 5 straight jobs just for being a sharp black man in corporate America. I took a lot of financial hits, not due to me not working hard and being a smart individual, but you come across some women, y'all go on a date, and it's like, all right, what you got to show for yourself? We your 401k. I ain't have all of that. I was just getting to the point where it's like, I'm able to take care of myself, my son. Right. I'm good with that. And now I'm starting to be able to build a nest egg. She had a way bigger nest egg than I did. So initially, she started the process once I let her know, like, yo, Spirit is compelling me to come live there, to move in together. And once we had that conversation, we, talked about tiny homes and apartments and all this other stuff, but we landed on, no, we're supposed to build. Initially, she used a lot of what was in her savings to start the process. And I said that in previous interviews. It's an interview I did with somebody 2 years ago. It's like, yo, my wife paid for our house. I was able to say that then, But then we put up a flyer for our first retreat, and a lot of the process that she had started financially, I was able to catch up because low key, our retreat paid for our house. We made a lot of money off doing 3 retreats last year. Most of it went into our structure. So had that not been the case, we'd be sitting on a nice little nest egg. We'd be able to chill and all this other stuff. And sometimes, especially towards the end of last year when clients wasn't booking as much, we was kind of losing sight of the fact we just paid cash for a whole house that's also doubling as our event space and continuing to bring money in. And had I not been comfortable in my own skin and my own understanding of how God flows for her to start the process financially, we don't get to the point where I'm able to match her and be able to pour in what I made off the retreats. And now it's like, no, we built this house together pretty much off of a flyer. We sold out 2 retreats in like 3 days our first time, saying, look, y'all, we doing retreats. Did 3 successful retreats, almost sold out our first one in June, July, and October. So we in a retreat, quote unquote, business, just off paying attention to our own intuition and honoring the times where God is like, sit your ass down, be still, meditate. Don't worry about if you got 100 clients booking this month. Being able to honor that has showed us how to conduct business across the board.
Yeah, so right now,
so what's next for
we
you
have
guys,
our
man? What's
emotional
next?
healing retreats in Mexico. We have one in June, one in July, and then we also have the couples only retreat that is in October. So if you are interested in our retreats, our emotional healing retreats, you can go to the link in my bio or the link in my husband's bio. And you can just read through the website. When you do that, if you are prepared to reserve your space, you put in your information and we will give you a call personally to go over those details. The other aspect of, what do we have to offer? Oh, the podcast, our podcast, Remembering Me. This is episode 4 that we just put out today. And yeah, it's really a beautiful episode. And tomorrow we're recording our next episode. So that's really beautiful. And then the other aspect is we have yoga, meditation, and emotional alchemy certification class that's happening within our home. So our home has been a conduit just for a lot of community to build. So if you are interested in, you can't join the certified class now, but if you are interested in the next one, you can DM us and we'll give you the information for that. If you're interested in booking us for one-on-one sessions for emotional guidance, emotional counseling, you can do that. The link is in both of our bios. My husband also does couples counseling. Therapy, Yep, he does couples therapy. And is really, really great at the couples therapy. So if you have any issues within your relationship or you want to learn new ways to build upon the foundation that you already have, definitely reach out to my husband.
And also my wife is relaunching Sasha Flower Skincare. She launched it, did 6 figures in a few months. But like she said, sometimes we want things that our soul may not be fully prepared for the success of. So she had to, kind of scale back and take a new approach to it. So we just had a beautiful, quote unquote, bedroom business meeting the other day where she now has a game plan for how to approach it. So please make sure y'all look forward to Sasha Flowers coming back. It's the best skincare I've ever used. I'm not just saying that because she's my wife. I had my cousin beating down my door the other day like, yo, I need some more of that glow. Me and wife would be fighting over it. So my skin has healed a lot due to her products, all vegan, all clean, all organic. So look out for the relaunch of Sasha Flower Skincare. If y'all in the Houston area, we got Blindfolded Speed Meeting this Friday right at our space, which is a beautiful event for singles to connect and also for couples to share their wisdom to the singles and vice versa. And yeah, I think that may be it.
I think that's it. So you can get in touch with me via my
how can
Instagram
people get in touch
account,
with you?
which is Candyss.love. My website is also CandissLove.com. You can check out my YouTube at Candyss Love. There's a lot of van life videos if you're someone who wants to learn how to travel, how to renovate your van to look like an RV, to have a bed, a restroom, a shower, a kitchenette in there. You can always check that out. Also, you can check out my ebook on van life on my website. I think that's pretty much how anyone will contact me.
Yep. And then for me, either Instagram, Brick City Buddha. I also have a website for booking as far as counseling, meditation. I do corporate meditation, familial meditation. If you want somebody to work with your kids, I do that as well, as long as they're a certain age. But you can book me at Brick City Buddha, BrickCityBuddha, BrickCityBuddha.com, or you can just DM me on Instagram. And for my music, DoX Diggler, DoXDiggla. All my music is free on there. A lot of light, a lot of consciousness in my music as well. And I'm still Weezy. I'm one of the best lyricists of all time too. I'm not as active in music no more. I got a new project coming with some of my brothers, and then my wife and I are going to work on an EP together. So look out for some of that as well. But that's how y'all can get in contact with me.
We're
Absolutely.
and anytime you come back down in Jersey, man, we definitely got a link in the physical.
Thank you for
Word.
having us.
Any last words
Very
before you
beautiful
depart?
questions, very intentional questions, and many, if not all, of the questions you've ever asked us, we've never been asked again. We really feel like it's a big deal when we spend time and utilize our time speaking to anyone. So for you to really do your due diligence to make sure you're asking questions that matter really is huge for us, and I really appreciate that.
And just gratitude to you for having this platform.
Absolutely.
Sometimes this can be a lonely journey in pushing consciousness and pushing knowledge in a balanced way. And sometimes people have an idea of the conscious community where we may not kind of fit into. We're a little different in our approach to a lot of things. We're not necessarily on the picket line and got the signs and fighting against corporate America. We got a different approach. So for you to still be able to include us in the realm of consciousness, we definitely appreciate that. And to everybody that's commenting, that's watching, that's liking, supporting, we just express immense gratitude to y'all for continuing to support us. This is how we take care of each other, feed our family, and serve our purpose. So gratitude and love to everybody. Yeah.
Indeed. And I'm really big on helping each other, right? So hey, I see us as family, right? So we need to see each other as family and have that unity and togetherness, which it's really we don't have. So that's what I'm fighting for, right? Just togetherness, unity, and just having that love for each other. Is that word again, love? Because we definitely lack love a lot in many different areas. So yeah, man, I thank you all as well. And yeah, hopefully we can do this again in the physical. It'll be great. I trust that the Most High will grant you guys on your union with the businesses that you have and all that you desire. Thank you. All right, family. So I leave you as I greet you. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom, shalom. Hotel.